As long ago as the beginning of democracy, Socrates emphasized its most pronounced flaw, lack of professionalism. He was tried for the wrong philosophy, and debate on the principles of democracy started. The judges told that democracy entails the possibility of every citizen to have an access to the power. We choose leaders on drawing lots, so that everybody would have equal rights. But Socrates explains that this is as ridiculous as to choose the helmsman on a ship on drawing lots, rather than for his knowledge or skills. And as there was nothing to deprecate, emotions and power were put to use. 300 Jews, tradesmen and sailors, condemned Socrates to death. Socrates' disciple, Plato, created the first theory of anti-democracy, the theory of power of erudites, or to be more precise, the power of professionals. It was of crucial value for philosophy, and its methodological basis has survived through thousands of years. In the new era, its main methodological root, the power of professionals, is well preserved. That is why, as before, it is the basic antipode of democracy, the power of laymen. Since the antique times, the history of democracy is a chain of crisis and its destruction. History repeats itself. The world is again on the verge of the Great Depression. After the World War II, the vector was turned towards the macroeconomic Keynes theory. Several dozens of years, Europe has developed in its direction, and now we see that this is also a collapse. Upon this complete realization, macroeconomics comes into collision with the basic principles of capitalism. Just this has become the reason for closing macroeconomic programs and hastened the onset of the financial crisis. The attempts to oppose bourgeois democracy to socialism, as a matter of fact, have reduced to the comparison of the efficiency of the capitalism. Based on private property to the state capitalism, they have a really different economic efficiency, but both lead to crisis. One leads to the crisis of overproduction, and the other to the crisis of underproduction, inefficient production. With its higher economic power and advanced technologies, bourgeois democracy has nevertheless become the reason for the world's financial crisis, and has largely determined the already coming multi-phased global crisis. But in what way has the enhancement of democratic principles and different types of freedom for the people led to directly opposite results, such as debt slavery, the slavery that is much more sophisticated than the forced compulsion? Democracy is a designation of power which does not comply with its terms. Since the most ancient times and up to the present, the people have never been able either to directly govern or to be lawmakers. The executive authorities, even if they were representatives of the people, have persistently usurped their right for power. The people are not experts in politics and governing, the most so in economics. They have no idea for whom they vote, and their choice turns out to be promoted by demagogues or the media. For the bourgeoisie, the regime of liberal democracy is very profitable, but without allies and liberals, all the democratic countries, the power of transnational companies will be impossible. The ideologists of the system cannot yet understand that the erupted global financial crisis is not a regular phase in the cycle of capitalist production, but the finish of the liberal and democratic capitalist civilization. The crisis of democracy has erupted almost in all spheres of state management, in all government institutions, in government, politics, economics, armed forces, science, medicine, etc. Sometimes it has extremely ugly forms, and one of them is the global economic crisis. Plato was the author of the first critical work on the archaic policy of the government, and its aim was against anti-democracy. Theoreticians of this policy acknowledge that every citizen of a polis has the right to be elected to all state positions, independent of his level of knowledge and professional skills in state governing. A naive point of view, as if governing is the simplest thing. Plato asserted that it is necessary for every member of the society to do his job, and moreover, only his job. In contrast of the democratic society, Plato proposed a society with the power of experts and the power of erudites as the highest manifestation of professionals. If we choose to be guided by Plato, it will be justified to divide citizens upon voting not according to the dictation of classes but according to their professionalism. The case in question is a parliamentary republic, not with a democratic structure of government, but with a technocratic structure of power and with a technocratic parliament. A technocratic parliamentary republic has no need either in democratically elected president or in non-professional nationwide elections. A representative of every professional group of citizens in a state knows quite well who is governing him and what is required of his government. But when all professional groups are united in the common election campaign and one leader is elected for all professional groups, disorientation takes place. In such circumstances, any aventurist may appear from the community can easily deceive the citizens. Every professionally oriented institution of state management, political scientists, sociologists, ecologists, medical doctors, researchers, etc., all those whose directives and laws have to do with the whole state, elects a defined number of its deputies to the parliament. Groups of specialists who have no university status are included in the social institutions, and elections are carried out in its direction. These are elections to professionally oriented parliaments of the first level, where narrow professional but general for the state problems are solved and appropriate legislation is enacted. Each parliament of the first level elects deputies to the nationwide parliament, the parliaments of the second level, but the number of such deputies is already significantly smaller. In the parliaments of the second level, the following events take place. First, agreement of the proposed legislation of every professionally oriented institution with all other state institutions. This is a procedure requiring additional studies of the problem for the final announcement of the proposed solutions and laws. Formation of the cabinet of ministers, the process of approval of candidates proposed by parliaments of the first level.